When we get familiar with who we are, we just feel better all the time. There's no other way to say it. It's not a mysterious, esoteric matter. It doesn't belong to any kind of category or institution. It doesn't belong to philosophy. It doesn't belong to religion. It doesn't belong to spirituality. It's never been owned by any country or by any person. This is just the way we are as human beings. It's our human nature. And we can either get familiar with it or not. But when we do get familiar with it, then we pass beyond cause and effect. We just pass completely beyond cause and effect. All these things that are always proliferating and stirring within us, and then resolving our thoughts and emotions about experiences, we realize more and more that all these appearances are really allies. They're really friends. We've never been at the whim of them. It's all what we take them to be. If we take them to be a monster, they will be. If we think we're ruled by our thoughts and emotions, then we will be. If we think we're affected and ruled by our experiences, then we will be. And when we get to know ourselves as we are, the more we know ourselves as we truly are, the more we see that we're really not affected by all the labels that we've attributed to everything, no matter what they are. If the first time we're angry, when we're a little kid, somebody says to us, "Oh, don't be angry, that's bad," then right away we take that anger, this big surge of energy, it's been labeled anger, and we feel it's bad. So from then on, whenever this big surge of energy comes up, we think anger, bad. So we've got to put that in the pile of points of view that we want to get rid of. And we're usually taught to replace it with something else. Someone says to us, "Be nice." Don't be angry, be nice. So we learn to then think, be nice, that's a good thing. So now we're gonna make a big pile like Mount Everest of being nice. But no matter how nice we are, and what is implied that if we're nice, then we'll have well-being. We'll feel good and we'll get along with others. But even the nicest people on earth will not find well-being in being nice. There will always be something stirring in the background there that isn't nice, like death or critical illness or something unpredictable that happens. There will be unniceness that comes up somewhere. And because, we can never find well-being in a label, not unless we know the true meaning of that appearance. And the ultimate meaning of everything cannot be found to exist according to the description of the label. So, I just invite everyone to give it up. And I see people all over the world, and I know by now that there are some people who are ready and there are other people who aren't. Many people enjoy the conventional ways of looking at things, and that's okay. But anyone who is ready, that's really great, because those of us who are ready among humankind to adopt a new mind that is beyond cause and effect, beyond time and space, that isn't trapped in all these conventional designations, we can be of great benefit to ourselves and to others, of tremendous benefit. We have urgent problems facing the world, for us as individuals and for our species and the planet as a whole. And we desperately need wisdom to solve these problems. We need wisdom to solve the problems that are within ourselves that make us feel like a ping pong ball all of our lives, bouncing back and forth between thoughts, emotions, and experiences. So we need to find how to benefit ourselves and come to terms with everything that goes on with us internally. And as we do so, we recognize the amazing benefit in that. We recognize through our own firsthand experience, just like a scientist has a hypothesis, they test it, and they see the result. So I'm just inviting you to find out the same thing about yourself. Here's a hypothesis for you, test it, and you'll see the result. That's all there is to it. And the result is wisdom. It's not getting into some kind of state of holding on to awareness and saying, oh, I'm in awareness, everything is okay. Awareness is inseparable from wisdom. Wisdom and awareness aren't something that needs to be held on to. Awareness and wisdom are self-kept. They're self-held. They're not holdable and keepable, and there's no one to hold them or keep them. So when we just rest as awareness, less and less do we feel ourselves to be so defined by all the stirrings within us, the stirrings that say, I'm me, I'm somebody, I need certain thoughts to make me feel good, I need certain emotions to make me feel good, I need certain experiences to make me feel good. What I've just described, that's not well-being, that's addiction. So this self-centered identification with being somebody who always needs more and more to make it feel good, the right kinds of thoughts, the right kinds of emotions, the right kinds of experiences, that's just an addiction, because it doesn't really resolve anything. It doesn't really tell us the truth about who we are, and it gives us an extremely limited identity of ourselves that's based on an individual self, a personal identity. I'm somebody, and I crave and need all these things to make me feel good, no matter what they are. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine if that's the way you want to live. But if you don't want to live that way, then there's another way to live. Just know that there is another way to live. That self-centered identity is only one identity a human being can have. And just like people can change their identities whenever they want to on the internet, we all can change our identities too, from this self-centered identity to our wisdom identity. We can get familiar with this wisdom identity that isn't bound by a location called a body and by time and space. The wisdom identity isn't dependent on anything. It's not dependent on the body and all of the terms applied to the body, like birth, life, and death, waking, dreaming, sleeping. These are just labels. We learn that we're bound by all these things, but when we get familiar with awareness, we find gradually that we're not really dependent on these things. Where is the one who was born? Where is the one who's living? What is the location of that? And where is the one who will die? All that rests in awareness. It's only awareness that is aware of being born, living, and dying. And of all the appearances, no matter what they are, human beings are the only ones who have this self-awareness. We're the only ones who have self-awareness. So we are aware of being. And in the awareness of being, we have a very important choice with every thought, emotion, and experience we have. And that very important choice, the most important choice of all choices we will ever make in our human life, is to either go with the awareness that is the basis of that thought, emotion, or experience, that point of view within the all-encompassing pure view of awareness, to go with the awareness that is at the basis and just let that be and see everything through its lenses of the vast expanse of space, or to pick up a label and say, this is who I am. I'm an American, I have white skin, I'm a woman, I'm a this, I'm a that. I need this, I need that to make me feel good. So you see, we have this choice in every single thought, emotion, and experience we have. We have the thought to just get to know ourselves beyond everything that's been conventionally described to us, or to just continue to go along with what we've learned so far. It's that straightforward. Now, so what are we going to get from this? That's what everybody. What are we going to get from this in terms of how we feel on a daily basis? Well, just how we feel on a daily basis and how we live life when we get familiar with the awareness that is at the basis of everything. We have increase in well-being. We have an increase in well-being. And what does that mean? It means we just feel content and at ease more. We feel more at ease within our own skin, and we feel more at ease with others. Instead of being all caught in here thinking about things all the time, our awareness opens up. It opens up and we realize that everything is included within that awareness. So in a totally uncontrived way, we feel greater intimacy and connection with others, no matter who they are. We feel a sense that all of us are indivisible, that there's never been any division anywhere. More and more we feel that no one is a stranger, rather than seeing somebody and thinking, oh, I've never seen them before, they're strange to me, and should I talk to them or not? Do they look scary or not? Is it going to be okay to say hello? We just have a great sense of everything the way it is without knowing anything in particular and without thinking. We just are like a meta radar. No matter where awareness turns, it knows everything that's going on in a super complete way. So we become less and less identified with ourselves as being stuck here, in this flesh suit. And without even thinking about it, we become more familiar with the awareness that is at the basis. It's the awareness by which we know the flesh suit. We wouldn't know anything about who we are without awareness. Now, this fleshy thing, it really seems like it is something, doesn't it? It really seems like this is something. This really is something. And it's kind of threatening because we really can't get out of it, but a lot of us don't know how to live with it either. We feel kind of trapped here. We were born, and we will have lots of people that'll agree with that and tell us we were born. And then we all are kind of afraid of this thing coming up called death that applies to this meaty substance. But you know, we can read books for the rest of our lives. Grey's Anatomy, there's a good book about this. You know, that's a TV show now too, isn't it? Lots of people like that. I've never seen it myself, but anyway, Grey's Anatomy. So we can understand everything about this anatomy. We can study Grey's Anatomy on our own, look it up on the internet. We can go to a university and study Grey's Anatomy. We can find out everything there is to know according to current knowledge about every single particle of this meaty substance. and everything within it. And not only the tangible parts of it, but the intangible things too. The neurology, the neurotransmitters, how all these things work together. We can be so well schooled in that no one can surpass our knowledge of the anatomy of the human body. But is that going to bring anybody well-being? To know all these things that have been conventionally described about the body? And what about the psychology? Knowing all these conventional things that are described about psychology. Oh, you have this problem with anger, depression because of these things. You know, when you were a baby, you were born and your mother put you in a room and she slept in another room. And so now, and that made you angry for the rest of your life. And also it gave you your fear of abandonment. All of these things, they're made up. It's just like, they're no different than reading a Danielle Steele book. Do you know who that is? Now, I've never read one of these books, but I know who she is, and she lives near where I do. And but on airplanes, I see lots of people reading Danielle Steele books. So, and I hear their romance stories. So, you know, no matter what it is that we learn about ourselves, psychology, and all of us would agree with this, none of it has ever given us well-being. And this is what we want. When we study about our bodies or our psychology, our physiology or psychology, we want to know more about who we are as human beings. But none of these things have ever brought us well-being. There's only one thing that has ever brought human beings well-being, complete well-being. The super complete well-being that is a dynamic expression of benefit, of superb helpfulness to everyone. And that's to know our true nature. And in order to know our true nature, the word true nature, that term, it's an abstraction. It's a total abstraction of emptiness. It means absolutely nothing. We have to be aware of a true nature in order to know what a true nature is. So that means that the true nature, in order to find out about that, we have to know about awareness. We have to gain familiarity with awareness. We have to gain familiarity with that by which we know we are, awareness. And when we return to that again and again, we do gain familiarity with it. And then all of a sudden, all of our thinking anymore, it isn't so much about us and our self-centered concerns. Our thinking gradually becomes more dynamic, more filled with energy, more about not just our own life, but about the lives of everyone altogether and the planet we live on, and not just about other human beings, but about all beings. We come to care very greatly about this. So all the things we really want to care about, we're able to care about just through gaining familiarity with awareness. And not only do we care about these things, but what comes alive in us is a very dynamic expression of actual wise benefit. So we see incredible solutions, not only to our own problems, the problems of our own lives or our own concerns, but the concerns of everyone. So all of this through gaining familiarity with awareness. This is something we can't find in psychology books or physiology books. They can only take us so far to understand. All that understanding is within cause and effect, time and space. It says that we're time-bound, that as beings we're sequential, that we're subject to past, present, and future. All these things we just learned, but to operate effectively within cause and effect, we can operate most effectively by knowing ourselves as beyond cause and effect. When we know ourselves as beyond sequence and causation, then we're truly able to see the workings of cause and effect, understand them completely, and move in an effortless, easeful way to be of benefit, not only to ourselves but others. So, everything I have to say to you could be summed up in one sentence. Rest as awareness, no matter what you're doing. And in that, you will come to know everything that can be known as a human being and beyond.